$270, order 20 or more for $5,400, and receive a free subscription to the International Forecaster or an extension, plus a fine ceramic mug courtesy of RBN by calling 1-800-691-7898.
And you have something else. You got the what are these?
We still got get them while they're still available. Monster boxes.
Monster boxes.
Monster boxes.
Of silver, and what does that contain, and how much?
500 Silver Eagles, and you caught me unawares.
And somebody's calling you right now.
And someone's calling me right now, probably to order the Andrew Jackson coin.
That can only be handled over here at 800-724-2719.
Please repeat that number again slowly so that people get it.
800-724-2719, and your number is 800-691-7898, as somebody just discovered. And the monster box of the Silver Eagles, how much is that, Robbie?
Don't quote me on this one. I think it's $84.50.
Okay, he'll get the current price for you if you call 800-691-7898. Second hour of the National Intel Report coming up. I want to get into some more facts and skewed figures that are running around the government. And, well, they're all here to help and protect us, and isn't everybody feeling good right now? How's that working out for you? We'll break here. 90 seconds, be back with you, folks. Second hour of the special edition of the National Intel Report with Mr. Robert Chapman, Robbie Noel, and myself, John Stadtmiller. We're back. Everything is rosy. How's the United States dollar holding up there, Bob Chapman?
Well, I think it struggled today, and to try to gain again. Yesterday it was up 110 at 78.19, and then today, let's see where my figure is here. Dollar index 78.24, up 12.
Man, oh man, oh man. Yeah, Bob,
I think we're going to break down. They're doing their darndest to keep it up, but it's not going to happen. I don't get the dollar index early in the morning at 3:30 or 4 o'clock, so I can't make a dated intraday comparison. There's some things I get and some things I don't get, and I don't have a machine, and so sometimes the figures are. You know, one of the things that happens is they keep on changing the figures after the final, so the numbers don't match. And I think it's just the late tape or incompetence or whatever it is. And so the figures are never totally accurate. But the point is this. It's going to break 78. It already did it once, but it didn't close down there because the government stepped in.
Right.
They can't keep it up. The Japanese alone are trying to sell $100 billion a month worth of dollar-denominated assets. Last month, they admitted they sold $25 billion. And the month before that, it was about $65 billion. And they're just laying it on them. It took a year and a quarter, maybe a year and a half, to get rid of the dollars they want to get rid of. And so there's going to be continual pressure. And you've got, on balance, Brazil's a seller, Venezuela, India, Russia, and who knows who else.
Now, in your newsletter, and I'm quoting out of your newsletter here because everybody is backing away from the dollars. The 30-year Treasury bond auction was a little over 4.5%. And I'm seeing here that the first semester of 2009, Brazil sold $24.3 billion worth of the U.S. Treasuries. They sold $12 billion in the second semester of 2008. Now, they still hold $209 billion and are the fourth largest funder of the U.S. Treasuries, but they're selling them off. Who is buying this? Is Uncle Ben authorizing the Treasury to buy back their own bonds that nobody wants to touch, and we're just reassuming the debt?
Well, when the government announces a $9 trillion debt, who in their right mind actually thinks they're going to repay that at any point in time in our life?
When we get back from the break, I'm going to play the brief clip here by Mr. Robert Welch back in 1958, pretty much outlining everything that we're seeing here, 40 years later? We'll be right back. Speech by Mr. Welch over a half a century ago, describing the long-range plans of what the insiders had for store. Listen closely, folks.
A part of that plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Here are the aims for the United States. 1, greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2, higher and then much higher taxes. 3, an increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4, wild inflation of our currency. 5, government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6, greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily lives. This is to be accompanied, naturally and automatically, by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical elimination of our state lines. There is a many-faceted drive at work to have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational system, leading to complete federalization of our public education. 9, a constant hammering into the American consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace, peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government which amount to a piecemeal surrender of the rest of the free world and of the United States itself.
This was 1974.
Brush the insider's dust out of your eyes, my friends, and the communist soap suds out of your brain, and ask yourselves in all honesty, what on earth is wrong with the United States simply minding its own business? Or with having its foreign policy function primarily for the safety and benefit of the American people. Which is exactly what we had done for the first 140 years of our existence as a nation, to the incredible advantage of ourselves and everybody else. Everybody, that is, except a numerically small clique of power-lusting conspirators who had somehow inflicted themselves on a gullible world. While we turn to a very brief summarization of what we hope the John Birch Society will help and even sometimes lead the American people to accomplish during the next 15 years. 1, our first and most important specific undertaking should be to restore the complete independence of the United States. This includes our resolution to get us out of the United Nations and get the United Nations out of the United States. Two, we we must once again make our money freely redeemable in gold at some realistic price. And we must take all practicable legislative steps to prevent a recurrence of the enormous thievery and other subversive crimes that have been perpetrated on the American people through a contrived inflation by every president from Franklin Roosevelt through Richard Nixon. 3, we should reduce the number of government bureaus, of government civilian employees, and the whole quantity of government by at least 50%. And we should achieve at least this much reduction in proper fashion through gradually convincing a majority of the American people of the wisdom of such a course.